Discover 14 spine-chilling ghost stories exposing sinister forces that will haunt you forever. Sarah could feel the shadows creeping in, wrapping around her family like a vice. The quaint suburb of Maplewood had the perfect charm. The manicured lawns, the friendly neighbors, the sun-drenched porches, they painted a picture of safety and peace. But they were lies, wrapped in the normalcy of this broken town. After her husband vanished, leaving only an echo of chaos behind, Sarah thought Maplewood might be a new start for her children, Lily and Ethan. Instead, it was a waking nightmare. They moved into a weathered two-story home, its bones creaking like old secrets beneath their feet. As they unpacked, the remnants of their past clashed with the eerie stillness of their new home. Then it started. Each morning, Sarah would find the kitchen window slightly ajar, the cool breeze stirring the kitchen curtains. She de-locked it tight the night before, yet here it was taunting her. The feeling of being watched settled like a weight in her chest, oppressive and dark. Even the neighbors' wise nods and warm smiles didn't feel warm in her gut. Then there were the notes, tucked neatly on their doorstep, each missive read like an echo from a dark past. Help your family. You're not alone. Who penned these chilling lines? They sent shivers down her spine, turning her blood to ice. She felt that impression, the prickling at the back of her neck that warned her. Something was wrong. Initially, she chalked it up to her frayed nerves, overworked and sleep-deprived, lurching through the days like a ghost. But dread clawed at her insides when Lily, her sensitive 8-year-old, began speaking of a new friend. Margot, she called her. A girl with a radiant smile only she could see. Mommy, she likes to play, Lily would say after long hours of silence and shadows. Sarah wanted to reassure her that it was just an imaginary friend, but a cold feeling crept into her bones, thick and suffocating. In desperation, she approached Officer Grayson at the diner where she worked. In his monotone voice, he brushed off her fears as mere stress-induced paranoia. His lack of urgency made her feel small and vulnerable in a town that felt increasingly hostile. As the shadows around them deepened, window locks began to jam. Sprawling notes turned threatening. They are watching you. Panic gripped her heart, squeezing tighter with every dread-filled night. Then came the chilling discovery: an old book in the basement, musty and gilt-edged, detailing local folklore about the Watcher. Her husband's disappearance flickered through her mind like a horror reel. Was it tied to this sinister myth? Tension coiled within her like a tightly wound spring, as now she couldn't trust her neighbors, their hollow smiles concealing treachery. Just as she unraveled a spine-tingling connection in her racing thoughts, Lily called from the top of the stairs, wide-eyed. Mommy, Margot says she wants to come play. Sarah's heart pounded, fear spiraling through her. How much closer were they to her family spiraling into the darkness? The air felt thick, pressing against her, pushing her toward something she couldn't escape. The floorboards creaked, whispering secrets. What awaited her next in this seemingly benign suburb? The house was silent, but the silence was deafening. Sarah's eyes darted to the stairs where Lily stood, still clutching the blanket she always carried. The morning sun cast long shadows through the hallway, creating a canvas of dark shapes that felt more alive than the air around her. Margot, Sarah called hesitantly, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. The name hung in the air, heavy with foreboding. Lily nodded, her round eyes unblinking. She says she likes stories. She wants to hear stories, Mommy. A lump formed in Sarah's throat. What kind of story did a girl like Margot want to hear? The whispers of the old book loomed large in her mind, the tales of the Watcher echoing with every heartbeat. What kind of stories does she tell you? Sarah pressed. The answer left her frozen. She tells me about the shadows. Felt like a punch to the gut. She had sensed those shadows creeping closer, always lurking. Yet here was Lily, entwined in a world Sarah could barely touch, a world tinged with terror. Lily, sweetie, what else does she say? Sometimes she says she can show me things, special things. The girl fidgeted, her innocence wrapped tightly around a bladed truth. Sarah's heart raced. What kind of special things? She wants to take me to the attic, the place with the old toys. A chill zipped down Sarah's spine as she remembered the attic, a cramped, musty place laden with forgotten memories and cobwebs. A place that echoed with sorrow. You can't go up there, Lily. Not alone. But Margot says she'll keep me safe. The child insisted, bright-eyed and earnest. Lily. Sarah's voice snapped like a brittle twig. She felt an unfamiliar surge of fierce protectiveness. The girl's face crumpled, her enthusiasm dampening under the weight of her mother's panic. I just wanted to play. I know, baby, but not with Margot. She's not real. The words hung between them like a tenuous thread, fraying with every second. As Lily whimpered softly, the floorboards seemed to groan in protest. Outside, the cheerful sounds of Maplewood, a dog barking, children's laughter felt like they were fading into the distance. Sarah glanced at the kitchen window, still ajar, and felt the breeze comb through her hair as chills gripped her. What does Margot look like? Sarah asked, her voice trembling again. Lily tilted her head as though thinking deeply before responding. She's pretty with shiny hair. But sometimes she has shadows around her. Sarah felt the walls inch closer. Shadows. The same shadows creeping ever closer with each passing night. Does she look at you? Like she's watching? Lily nodded slowly, as if sharing a secret. But she's nice. She says we can play forever. The ramifications of those words tore through Sarah's mind, shredding her thoughts to pieces. What forever? She whispered, terror curling her insides. Just then, a loud crash echoed from upstairs, an unseen force shattering something in the attic. The sound jolted both mother and daughter into action. Adrenaline sparked like fire, and they exchanged a wide-eyed glance filled with dread. Stay close to me, Sarah ordered, her voice resolute. As they moved toward the staircase, the air thickened with palpable fear. She felt a presence in the house, a cruel whisper flickering through as if each shadow had grown long fingers, clawing at her sanity. With each step they took, the incessant creaking of the old house played a sinister melody, urging her to turn back. But they couldn't turn back now. A feeling washed over Sarah, a mixture of dread and an insatiable need to confront whatever darkness lingered above them. The attic door only creaked slightly as they approached, yet it felt like the veil between worlds. Just then, the chill deepened as Lily gripped her wrist tighter. Margot wants us to be with her. That voice, a faint murmur weaving in and out of the shadows, echoed in Sarah's mind. Join us. Before she could react, the door swung open on its own, revealing a dark void within. The air stilled, charged with an unspeakable energy. What waited inside was no longer just a mystery, but a ghostly call that clawed at the edges of her mind. And as they teetered on the brink, the question hung heavy in the air: would they step into the shadows or flee? The attic was pitch black, the kind of darkness that pressed against Sarah's skin, making her heart pound in her chest like a caged animal. The air felt cool, the silence oppressive, broken only by the crackling of shadows that seemed to flutter in the corners. With a quick glance at Lily, who stood transfixed, her wide eyes reflecting a glimmer of something, fear or curiosity. Maybe both. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Stay by me, Lily, she whispered, clutching her daughter's hand so tightly it felt like a lifeline in a sea of dread. The quiet throb of anticipation filled the space, heavy and electric, tinged with the smell of dust and decay. Sarah took a cautious step inside, drawn as if by an unseen force. Her breath hitched when she heard a soft giggle, high-pitched and echoing through the darkness. It was like glass shattering into a million pieces, a sound that clung to her ears and crawled down her spine. Margot, Lily called, her voice eerily calm for a child teetering on the edge of a nightmare. Lily, don't. Sarah snapped, but it was too late. The name seemed to awaken something, a dissonant hum that coursed through the air, vibrating against the walls. The shadows danced, swirling, coalescing into shapes that twisted and turned as if alive. A chilling breeze rushed through the attic, sending dust motes spiraling, and Sarah's heart dropped when she caught the faintest glimpse of a figure, arm outstretched, hair glistening like black silk, the outlines of shadows crawling up her small frame. Come play, Lily, the ghostly voice beckoned, sweet yet laced with danger. Forever, The word hung in the air, a promise wrapped in malice. Forever, the notion sent a wave of nausea over Sarah. No, you can't go with her. She pulled on Lilia's hand, but the little girl remained rooted, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the encroaching shadow. Mommy, she said it will be fun. Fun? Sarah felt dizzy as she struggled with the contradiction of her daughter's innocence and the overwhelming darkness that curled around them. This isn't fun. You need to come back. A sinister laugh ricocheted off the walls like a taunt, and the attic's temperature plummeted. The swirling shadows elongated, reaching for them, tendrils of darkness flickering at the edges of her vision. Sarah squeezed Lily's hand harder, desperately attempting to anchor her child's spirit amidst the chaos. Suddenly, the wooden floor below creaked loudly, and a chilling whisper caressed Sarah's ear. "It's so lonely up here, join us, and you'll never be lonely again." That voice, it felt like a cold claw wrapped around her heart. In that moment, resolve hardened within Sarah. She wouldn't let Margot take Lily away. "Let us go, sweetie, now." Rising panic dripped from her voice as she wrenched Lily's gaze away from the figure. With all the strength she could muster, she dragged her daughter back, desperate for the safety of the light outside this cursed place. But just as they turned, a figure rushed forward out of the shadow's eyes like voids, an insatiable hunger washing over them. "You can't leave," it hissed, stretching its shadowy limbs. Sarah's breath hitched in horror. They had to escape, but where was the way out? The stairs felt like a distant memory, a heartbeat pounding in time with her rising dread. As fear clawed at her insides, she pulled Lily closer. "Back down the stairs. Sweetie, now." But as they darted for the door, it slammed shut with a resounding crash, as if sealing them in this purgatory. The shadows thickened and surged. "Stay with us. Be one of us." With one final plea that seemed to dissolve in the chilling air, Sarah screamed, "I won't let you take her." But as darkness enveloped them both, Sarah realized with a gut-wrenching fear the choice might no longer belong to her. What awaited them in the depths of the shrouded attic? Would they manage to escape the grasping shadows? Or would they become part of Margot's endless game? The air thickened, a miasma of dread wrapping around Sarah and Lily like a suffocating shroud. Shadows writhed with sinister intent, and the voice turned sharp, echoing maliciously. "You asked for fun, didn't you?" The figure seemed to shimmer, losing its human form, becoming a smattering of darkness mixed with fleeting faces, mouths curved in unsettling smiles. Sarah's resolve flickered, battling the fear that tried to cloud her judgment. She tugged fiercely at Lily, but her daughter remained enchanted, her small body leaning toward the spectral figure. "Come play." The whisper was honeyed, dripping with promises that sent shivers coursing through Sarah. "No," she shouted, her voice raw and desperate. Determination surged in her veins. "Lily, remember the games we play at home? Let us go." But it was as if Margot had crafted an invisible barrier, keeping her daughter at bay. Lily took a hesitant step forward, her tiny feet gliding toward the inky abyss. Sarah felt her heart squeeze painfully. "Lily, I can't let you go with her." Suddenly, walls that once contained the dust of years past felt alive, pulsing with dark energy. As if in response to her cries, tendrils of shadow reached again, quick, slithery, wrapping around Sarah's legs. They felt cold, clammy, their touch like ice and flame simultaneously, threatening to pull her into the depths where light dared not linger. "Play with us, Sarah." The cacophony of voices hissed, each word laced with twisted joy. "Forever is just a moment away." Forcing her eyes away from Lily, Sarah scanned for an escape. A faint sliver of light flickered near the far corner, her only hope. "We can leave," she yelled, letting sheer panic drive her forward. But as she made a dash, the shadows flared, blocking her path. "Leave? But why do that?" The laughter that erupted was harsh, mocking. "You're where you belong now." That terrifying sound pulled at Sarah's sanity. She pulled hard on Lily, praying to break whatever hold Margot had over her child. "Lily, please, stay with me." But the little girl smiled dreamily, the innocence in her eyes now clouded by an enchantment that made Sarah's heart splinter. "But Mommy, she doesn't want us to leave." "No." Frustration and fear mingled into a raw scream. "Lily, I'm your mom. I'm scared." In that frantic moment, Lily's expression faltered, just for a heartbeat, as if the truth was breaking through the veil of darkness. But before Sarah could reach her, Margot's figure lunged, the air slicing sharp in its wake. "You need to listen to her, little mama." The shadows lunged forward, fingers outstretched, snatching at Sarah's limbs. She felt their breath, cold and rancid, as panic surged. "Let her go." Sarah's voice was a desperate roar, fueled by love and the fight to shield her daughter from this malevolence. As shadows enveloped her body, Sarah felt a sudden tug deep in her chest, and she concentrated hard, willing the strength rooted in the love for her daughter to break through. "Stay back," she cried, focusing on the warmth of her memories, home, and the laughter that filled their evenings. "Come back," Margot laughed, a twisted siren's song. "You'll never escape." Then, with the force of a crashing wave, Sarah lunged toward Lily, throwing herself between the shadow and her daughter. A pulse of light erupted, illuminating the darkness momentarily. "What the hell?" Margot hissed, her figure writhing and breaking apart like smoke caught in a whirlwind. But as swiftly as it appeared, the light flickered and dimmed. Sarah's heart raced, the shadows recoiled but didn't retreat. They still inched closer, drawn to the fight. "Mommy?" Lily's voice trembled, fear now creeping into her tone. "Hold on to me, sweetie." Sarah felt a surge within her. It was fear, yes, but also fury at the darkness, at the specter haunting her family. "We have to go." Just as the figure lunged for them again, Sarah seized Lily's hand, steeling herself for the desperate escape through shadows that loomed around them. But Margot's voice echoed through the dark, a promise of relentless pursuit. "You can't hide from us. Forever." Terror knotted in Sarah's stomach as they raced for the flickering light, uncertain if they would ever escape the grip of the attic's haunting shadows. Would they find their way out, or would they be drawn back into Margot's eternal game of darkness? Time was slipping through their fingers like ash as Sarah and Lily charged toward a fate unknown. The flickering light grew larger, an almost mocking beacon in the heart of despair. Sarah pushed through, every second a struggle against the encroaching darkness that wrapped tighter around her. The shadows pressed forward, hungry, whispering her name as if it were a sacrificial offering. "Lily!" Sarah's voice tore through the air, raw and frantic. Each step felt like wading through water, the shadows tugging at her like they were trying to drag her back into the abyss. In that blinding moment of desperation, she felt Lily slip slightly from her grasp. Panic twisted Sarah's heart. "Mommy, I can't," Lily whimpered, struggling to break free from the grip of the growing darkness. Her small face contorted with fear. "Just hold on," Sarah shouted, willing her strength into the tiny hand she clung to. The dim light ahead flickered again, the shadows making a desperate lunge. They were so close, but the world around them shifted. Margot's chilling laugh echoed, weaving through the shadows, wrapping around them like a cold embrace. "You'll never escape, little ones. We grow stronger with your fear." Bursts of dark energy surged around them, threatening to engulf them. Each pulse felt like a heartbeat, thrumming with malevolence, shaking the very foundations of Sarah's resolve. She glanced back at Margot, whose face twisted into a grotesque mask of delight. "Mom!" Lily wailed, a sound that sliced through the malice. Sarah held her daughter tighter, ready to break into a sprint, but a sudden chill swept through the air, freezing her in place. The shadows seemed to rise, forming a wall, a suffocating barrier blocking their path. Summoning all her strength, Sarah yelled, "We don't belong to you." It was a weak defiance, but it clawed its way through her fear. The shadows flickered as if considering her words. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was a chance. The light pulsed once more, brightening for a fleeting moment. Sarah urged Lily forward, hoping to make a break for it. But as they stepped closer to the light, time seemed to stutter. The entire space warped and they staggered, The confines of the attic floor twisted around them, expanding and contracting, as if the very room fed on their dread. No! The anguished cry came from Margot, her form drifting closer, distortions rippling through her spectral body. You defy me? Illusions are all you have, Sarah. Sweet little Lily is mine. Bile rose in Sarah's throat. That word mine sounded so final. The cold tendrils gripped tighter around Lily's feet, dragging her toward the shadows. Mommy! Lily's eyes blazed with fear as the chilling grasp of the shadows enveloped her ankles. Every fiber of Sarah's being screamed for her to act. Desperation clawed at her heart. In a flash, she recalled the stories told under dim kitchen lights, tales of brave knights and strong mothers. The love for her daughter coiled in her belly, surging into a fiery determination that pushed back against Margot's dark influence. We are together, she shouted. A blinding surge of light exploded within Sarah, and she extended her arm toward the darkness, focused on Lily. We are not afraid. The shadows shrank momentarily, recoiling as if struck. Margot snarled, fury twisting her features, revealing something more primal, more terrifying. You will pay for that defiance. Suddenly, the shadow's grip loosened, and as if by miracle, Lily stumbled back into her mother's arms. They stood on the edge of collapsing worlds, breathless and heart racing. But the flickering light began to dim again, swallowed up by the gathering shadows. Quick! Sarah yelled, clutching Lily's hand as she sprinted toward the waning light. But she could feel Margot's presence lingering like a predator in the dark. And then, just as they reached the last glimmer, the air thickened with energy. Shadows swirled in a furious frenzy, whispering chaotic secrets that danced dangerously close to Sarah's ears. Run! But the words carried a weight, an urgency laced with dread that crept into her bones. What if the light was a trap? What if it led them to something worse? In that moment of doubt, she felt the shadows tug insistently, shadows that beckoned with promises of safety intertwined with darkness. The choice hung heavy. Would they leap towards the light or plunge deeper into the dark? With a heart racing and fear spiraling, Sarah mustered all her strength, clutching Lily closer as they hurtled forward into uncertainty. But as she stepped through the threshold, an insidious giggle echoed in the air, and the ground shifted beneath them, as if they were falling into a chasm from which they might never return. What awaited them on the other side? Would the light cleanse them or consume them whole? As the darkness closed in once more, Sarah's breath hitched on the air thick with terror. The fall felt endless. Sarah's grip on Lily tightened as they plunged into darkness, the sound of their breaths drowned by a cacophony of whispers that swirled around them. Each word twisted in her mind, a language she couldn't understand yet felt deep in her bones. Terror mounted as she fought to steady her heart, the weight of despair pressing down like a heavy fog. Then, with a jarring thud, they landed. The impact knocked the wind from Sarah. She gasped, her vision struggling to adjust to the dim surroundings. When she looked down, she saw they stood on a floor that felt strangely squishy, like wet earth. The air was thick and suffocating, pulsing in time with her racing heart. Mommy? Lily's voice wavered, barely above a whisper. I'm here, baby, Sarah replied, her voice trembling. She scanned their surroundings, trying to get her bearings. The space was dimly lit, flickering shadows giving life to twisted shapes that mocked her every movement. It was as if the very walls breathed, exhaling despair with every tremor. The oppressive weight of Margot's presence loomed nearby, invisible yet palpable. This is where you belong, a voice hissed. It slithered through the room like smoke, saturating the air with dread. You're trapped now, sweet Sarah. You've crossed into my realm. Panic rose within Sarah like bile. She turned to Lily, who had drawn closer, her little fingers digging into Sarah's side. What do we do? The child asked, eyes wide and glimmering with fright. Stay close, Sarah whispered. The urge to shield Lily from the darkness surged in her chest. With a deep breath, she stepped into the encroaching shadows, forcing herself to ignore the nagging doubt lining the edges of her mind. We need to find a way out. But the whispers intensified, churning into frenzied shouts that seemed to shake the very ground beneath them. "You won't escape. You'll never leave," they shrieked, a chorus of agony. A blast of cold air wrapped around them, biting into Sarah's skin. She stumbled, her heart racing wildly as the temperature plummeted. "Mommy!" Lily cried, sensing her mother's distress. "Focus on my voice, Lily," Sarah urged, forcing her feet to move despite the creeping dread. Every step felt like a betrayal to her instincts. The shadows tugged and pulled, a relentless tide threatening to sweep them away. As they moved deeper into the swirl of darkness, shapes began to materialize around them, twisted faces, desperate eyes filled with sorrow. They reached out, fingers brushing against Sarah's arms, cold as death. The air grew thick, heavy with yearning and loss. Thoughts of escape collided with bursts of hopelessness. "Help us," Sarah cried, unintentionally pleading with the figures that surrounded them. "We need to get out." But they merely writhed, their expressions shifting into grotesque forms of laughter and wailing, slashing at her defenses. It was as if they were feeding off Sarah's fear, their own desperation amplifying her terror. "Seek the heart of darkness," a voice shrieked from the chaos, a command that echoed unnaturally. "The heart of darkness?" Sarah spoke aloud, the words tasting foreign and unfamiliar. Was there even a way through this nightmare? But then, amid the swirling horror, a pulsating light flickered somewhere ahead, vibrant amidst the black void. It beckoned like a distant star. "Look, Mommy, that's it," Lily cried, pointing with all her might. But even as they surged forward, a heavier darkness wrapped around them, almost alive, thwarting their progress. The light dimmed momentarily as if taunting them, slyly retreating further into the unknown. "Not so fast." Margot's voice erupted from the shadows, threading through the night like a sinister melody. They were caught in a dance, a macabre chase between light and darkness. Fear clawed back to the surface, and the pulse of despair beat steadily in Sarah's ears. As they stumbled towards the light, a sudden rumble echoed around them, shaking the very foundation. "You can't escape," Margot hissed, fury palpable in the air. Just then, the ground beneath their feet jerked violently as a crack split open, revealing an abyss, a maw of darkness threatening to swallow everything whole. Before Sarah could react, a cold breeze swept in, carrying with it what felt like tiny knives, sending shocking shivers racing through her body. "No!" she screamed, holding on to Lily with every ounce of strength. But the abyss widened, engulfing the last flicker of light in its ravenous grip. What awaited them if they fell into that bottomless pit? Would they find peace or plunge into eternal torment? As the shadows surged forward again, a sickening realization clawed at Sarah's mind. The answer lay deep in the heart of darkness. The darkness swallowed them whole, and Sarah felt a jolt of sheer terror as she held Lily tighter. The echoes of Margot's laughter faded into a haunting silence, leaving only the pounding of their hearts as they faced the void. The abyss yawned like a hungry beast, its depths unknown and terrifying. "Mommy!" Lily's voice trembled, each syllable trembling like a fragile leaf caught in a storm. "Shoo!" Sarah whispered, glancing behind them. The figures in the shadows writhed, their features twisted in a mix of rage and anguish, reaching out like tendrils of smoke, desperate to pull them back. "We need to keep moving." With no other choice, Sarah turned towards the flickering light again, forcing her legs to carry her through the suffocating atmosphere. But the ground was shifting, a soft grip tugging at her feet as if anxious to drag her back into the icy grasp of despair. "Mommy, I don't like this place," Lily cried out, her small voice echoing strangely, amplified by the eerie silence. "I know, baby. I know," Sarah reassured her, though her own heart trembled. As she squinted into the darkness, the light pulsed, a desperate heartbeat amid the chaos. And then, in one heart-stopping instant, it vanished. "Lily!" The name tore from her lips, panic unraveling the thread of hope she clung to. "It's gone," the girl cried, her voice rising in pitch. "No, no, please." Sarah felt the cold tendrils wrap around her, suffocating her resolve. This they couldn't afford. We have to find it. Hold on to me. They stumbled onward, peer into the void, into the murky shadows where the light had been. Moments stretched painfully, the air thickening, leaves the bitter taste of crushed panic in her throat. She needed to think, needed a plan. Suddenly, a figure stepped into view, a woman emerging from the shadows, her face cloaked and features hidden. Sarah's heart stopped. Is it you, Margot? The woman chuckled, but it was devoid of warmth, a chilling sound that reverberated with malice. Oh, how sweet, she replied, voice smooth and dripping with venom. You still think she can be saved? Foolish girl. Let us go, Sarah shouted, fueled by a surge of defiance. We haven't done anything to you. Everything, Margot said, stepping closer, the shadows swirling around her. That's where you're wrong. You are all part of this. Each of you carries the weight of your own darkness. What do you mean? The question slipped out before Sarah could think. A flicker of recognition crossed Margot's obscured face, and she raised a spindly finger, pointing at Lily. She is the embodiment of your regret, your guilt. She reveals what you try to hide. No, Sarah objected, gripping Lily tighter. You don't know anything about us, do I not? Margot's voice lowered, steeped in mockery. You've painted yourself with resentment. Every decision, every moment you wished were different. It's all wrapped within her. The heart of darkness? You seek to escape it, but you must look inside to find your way out. A tremor shook Sarah as Margot's words latched onto her thoughts like iron chains. The suffocating shadows pressed in closer, viscous and stifling, while fragmented images of the past twisted in her mind a lost opportunity, a promise unkept, a love forgotten. Listen, Lily. I need you to stay with me, no matter what. Sarah breathed, desperation lacing her voice. But she could feel Margot's presence looming closer, her voice a whisper in the darkness. You cannot hide from the truth, Sarah. In that instant, shadows thickened around them, swirling with newfound fervor, and the shadows of the past danced on the edges of Sarah's mind, beckoning her into an inescapable truth. Mommy, Lily cried, eyes wide in fear. Just as they turned to flee, the ground beneath them quaked again. In a split second, the earth opened with a bone-chilling roar, ready to swallow them whole. Running won't save you, Margot's laughter echoed, merging with the rush of darkness that enveloped them. As they tumbled toward the chasm, Sarah felt the weight of a chilling realization. Was Margot right? Would confronting their darkest secrets be their only hope? Lily, hold on. But the light was gone, and as they fell, all Sarah could do was cling to her daughter, a final tether before facing their doom. What would happen if they faced the darkness? Would they find salvation or be lost forever? The tumble felt eternal, a freefall into the unknown. A cacophony of shadows screamed around them, clawing at their faces like slippery fingers, each moment stretching into despair. Sarah squeezed Lily tighter, shutting her eyes against the swirling chaos. Stay with me, she yelled, though the words felt futile against the relentless pull of the abyss. They hit a surface, hard and rough, a sickening jolt coursing through her bones, knocking the breath from her lungs. And Mommy, Lily whimpered, her small voice cutting through the darkness like a shard of glass. Sarah opened her eyes. The world around them was suffused with an eerie glow, a faint illumination that felt wrong, like the blue light from a flickering TV long since turned off, casting shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Is this? Sarah's thoughts drifted to Margot, to the implications of her words. The shadows around them no longer writhed. Instead, they coiled, waiting. Are we dead? Lily asked, her voice shaking like a fragile string. No, sweetie, we're alive, I think. Sarah forced herself to stand, scanning their surroundings. They were on the edge of a vast cavern, the walls slick with moisture and carved by time. Ghostly wisps curled upwards, vanishing into a ceiling too dark to discern. The air felt heavy, saturated with dread. Suddenly, a low humming filled the space, growing louder as if it resonated from within the stone itself. Skin prickled. A familiar dread slithered down Sarah's spine, wrapping around her heart like a vice. "Mommy, I'm scared." Lily pressed herself against Sarah's leg, eyes wide, reflecting the faint glow. "Stay close," Sarah urged, taking a step forward. The ground groaned beneath her feet. They moved cautiously, each step echoing louder, until they reached a set of hollow wooden doors, almost regal amidst the decay. The humming crescendoed, becoming almost a chant, piercing through the air like ice. "You're in the belly of the beast now," a disembodied voice whispered, slithering around them. "Who's there?" Sarah called, though her voice trembled. "Welcome," the voice replied, a soft echo layered with sarcasm. "To the hall of your regrets." The doors creaked open, revealing a morose chamber illuminated by flickering candles. Shadows cast morbid shapes on the walls, images of sorrow, guilt, and broken promises danced. It was as if every painful memory lived here, lingering in the air like a sour smell. "Mommy!" Lily gasped, eyes darting at the grotesque figures looming in the shadows. "Lily, just breathe," Sarah whispered, though her own breath felt ragged. She felt a tugging at her heart, as memories she tried to bury clawed their way to the surface, arguments that didn't need to happen, love lost to pride, and that single moment she chose fear over bravery. "Step forward, and the truth will set you free." The voice beckoned, seductive and sinister. "What truth?" Sarah stammered, backing away instinctively. "Your darkness is your own prison," the voice answered. "Face what you've hidden, and the light shall guide you. Or remain lost, forever seeking." Suddenly, shadows lunged from the corners of the chamber, figures morphing from sorrow into grotesque forms, reaching out with decayed fingers, intent on dragging them into the depths of despair. "Run!" Sarah shouted, but the shadows surged, their cries mingling with the terrible hum, drowning out all hope. As the figures closed in, Sarah pulled Lily close. "Whatever happens, don't let go." The space around them distorted, warping like a funhouse mirror as they sprinted back to the doors. But they weren't there. The only way out vanished, leaving only the maddening thrumming of the shadows' laughter. "Mommy, I can't breathe," Lily gasped, and Sarah's heart lurched. "Stay with me." But the shadows loomed ever closer, and that sickening truth taunted her. If facing the darkness meant survival, would exposing their secrets lead them to salvation or doom? A cacophony of haunting laughter enveloped them. As panic overwhelmed her senses, Sarah screamed into the void, "What do we have to do?" And the shadows answered with a chilling response, waiting to unveil their terrible revelation. The shadows paused, a sinister stillness settling over the chamber. Their laughter morphed into whispers, an unsettling chorus seeping into Sarah's ears, gnawing at her resolve. "Only one can pass," they hissed, voices slithering like snakes. "One must bear the burden, while the other escapes." "Let her go," Sarah shouted, her voice breaking with desperation. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, the horrifying choice looming like a specter in the air. "You can't take my daughter." "Who said anything about taking?" The voice crooned, now deeper, infused with malice. "To set her free, you must offer a piece of yourself." What does that even mean? Panic coursed through Sarah as she felt the darkness grow thick around them. Invisible hands reached out, brushing against her skin, probing, pressing, as if searching for some vulnerability. "Face your sins," the shadows clamored, their breath hot against her neck. "Let go of the memories that haunt you. Only then can you provide her the light." "But I can't. I can't leave her." The pain in Sarah's chest twisted tighter, mingling with the agonizing ache of regret. The memory of the arguments, the nights spent in silence, all collided in her mind, each one a dagger piercing her heart. "Then you shall remain," the darkness hissed like a cold wind. "Forever lost." The chamber trembled, causing the flickering candles to sway violently, shadows jumping and elongating into monstrous shapes. An overwhelming dread settled over Sarah, mixed with a burning anger. She pressed her forehead against Lily's. "You must believe me. I will not fail you." "Mommy!" Lily's voice was a whimper, barely piercing the chaos that had consumed the room. "Shoo! I'm here." Sarah clutched the child tighter, wishing desperately for the strength to break through the darkness. I love you, love. What does that mean when you hide your true self? The voice taunted, resonating with a mocking intensity. What are you willing to sacrifice? A flash of memories struck her like lightning. The pain of loss, the guilt for letting fear rule her life, the choices she regretted. Here in this chamber of sorrows, each memory glowed like the light of a dying star, threatening to consume her. I'll face them. I'll face them all, Sarah screamed, summoning every ounce of courage she had left. A surge of warmth flickered to life deep within her chest, igniting a flame that pushed back against the darkness. Then step into your shadows and release your heart. The shadows writhed, howling with rage and disbelief, but Sarah felt a crack forming in the overwhelming darkness. Come on, Lily, she urged, pulling the child closer as she took a step forward, heart racing. She could see the shimmering outline of her fears swirling around her. Each figure was a part of her life, every mistake, every moment of shame dripping with the weight of despair. But she wouldn't run. Trembling, Sarah stepped toward the first shadow, an image of herself from years ago, crying over lost love. I'm sorry, she shouted, the words tearing from her throat. The shadow recoiled, dissipating into mist. With each block of regret she faced, she felt the grip on Lily loosen. The next shadow loomed large, her lost chance at freedom, a broken dream. I let you down. Another piece of her crumbled, and with a gust of wind, the figure shattered. She continued, drawing memories from the depths of her heart, confronting pain, loss, and betrayal. Shadows slipped away into the air as she poured out her sorrow and guilt, until the chamber brightened with a soft glow, a warmth she hadn't felt in years. Mommy? Lily's voice drew Sarah back, flickers of uncertainty clouding her daughter's eyes. Just hold on, Sarah urged, feeling the air shift around her with each release of her burdens. The shadows shrieked, swirling violently, but together they were gaining strength, until a blind spot flared, opening a path lined with light. Run, Sarah called, reaching for Lily's hand. But before they could escape completely, a final roar of rage erupted from behind, and the darkness lunged once more, desperate to claim what they had fought to get free of. Mommy! Lily screamed as everything swirled in a vortex. Boundless shadows grasped and clawed, ripping apart the fragile threads of Sarah's newfound light. Stay with me, Sarah yelled again, but fear gnawed as weightlessness enveloped them, pulling them back. And then, in the distance, a single memory echoed, a glimmer of hope now tainted with doubt. What could stand in the way between them and safety when the darkness refused to let go? Would they find a way through, or would the abyss claim them at last? Tension hung thick as the final echoes of the shadows howled, their fate tethered to an uncertain truth. The swirling darkness tightened around them, twisting like a coiled serpent. Sarah could feel the weight of every shadow pressing against her, but through the encroaching chaos, a thread of determination anchored her resolve. We want to be your prisoners, she cried, her voice rising, resonating through the void. With every ounce of strength, she clutched Lily's hand, dragging her daughter closer to the flickering light that pulsed in the distance like a heartbeat of hope. Margot's furious laughter echoed, but Sarah refused to let fear infiltrate her heart any longer. Face your truth, the shadows shrieked. You can't escape what you really are. No, I can't live in fear anymore, Sarah retorted, grounding herself. The past had haunted her for long enough. She wouldn't let it consume her daughter. The memory of each sorrow bubbled back to the forefront of her mind, but she felt lighter now, ready to transform them into strength rather than shackles. Her heart raced as she thought of Lily, the joy and laughter, the sweetness of snuggles at bedtime, the love that brought light into their darkest days. You are my light, and I will protect you, she shouted, focusing on the warmth of their bond, the unfaltering love that had fueled her fight. Suddenly, with every pulse of light, the shadows began to thin. Sarah pressed forward, feeling Lily's strength bolstering her own resolve. Let us go, sweetie. We can be free of this. As they stumbled forward, silhouettes twisted and writhed, reaching out with desperation, yearning to drag them back. You belong to us. You cannot run from the truth. I'm ready to face it. Sarah screamed as a blinding flare burst forth from her chest, burning away the shadows like a brand. The mixture of joy and anguish in all those memories erupted into a brilliant light, illuminating the chamber as the darkness recoiled, scattering like dust in the wind. "Mommy!" Lily's voice, filled with awe and relief, vibrated through the air. The oppressive fog surrounding them began to unravel, and realization swept through Sarah. She understood now each shadow had been a fragment of her own fears, her regrets, the moments that had bound her. She needed to embrace them, not escape them. Hand in hand, they darted toward the light streaming through a crack in the shadows, a pathway that led them closer to freedom. Sarah tightened her grip, every step echoing with her racing heart. "We're almost there, Lily." Together, the energy surged between them, feeding their resolve as they sped toward the crack brightening ahead. The darkness writhed behind them in agony, but Sarah and Lily were no longer afraid. Their bond was their strength. Just as the shadows lunged to clutch at their heels, Sarah shouted, "We are not afraid of you anymore." With that, they leapt toward the light. Time felt distorted, stretching as they hurled themselves through the radiant opening. The sensation was electric. Warmth flooded over them, alive and vibrant. They tumbled onto a smooth surface, the air crisp and fresh, filling their lungs with the sweetness of liberation. For a moment, they lay there trembling, gasping, and letting the gravity of it all sink in. "Did we make it, Mommy?" Lily asked breathlessly, her eyes wide, reflecting a mixture of astonishment and relief. "We did." Baby Sarah breathed back, overwhelmed with gratitude and disbelief. They had done it. The darkness behind them was merely a memory now, a reminder of what they had overcome. As they sat up, the landscape around them morphed into the familiar grounds of Maplewood, vibrant and sunlit, as if welcoming them back from the depths of despair. The healing sounds of laughter and life filled the air. "Mommy, look, it's our home," Lily cheered, and Sarah nodded, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. They were safe, breathing in the love of the life they had fought for. But then the echoes of the shadows lingered at the back of her mind. You must face your truth, but altered now. She felt empowered, equipped with the knowledge that courage could shine brighter than any darkness. "Let us go inside, sweetie," she said, brushing the stray hair from Lilia's forehead, the warmth of love enveloping them like an embrace. "It's time to make new memories." Hand in hand, they walked toward their home, ready to rebuild, to share laughter and joy, to be unrestrained from the past. As Sarah opened the door, she felt a comfort radiate within her. They had stepped away from the edge, emerged from the shadows, and faced the dark. They were no longer trapped. They were free, and they had each other. But as the door swung closed, just a whisper grazed the air. "We will always be watching," and in that single moment, Sarah knew the shadows may remain, but they would not let fear rule their lives again. Life's battles might revisit them, but together, they would meet them head-on, fearless and united. This is the moment of truth. Darkness fades, and love prevails. Now it's time for you to make a choice. If you loved this conclusion and want to keep up with our incredible stories, you need to subscribe immediately. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. I want to see your support skyrocket. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support for the channel. True fans never forget.